This is Binghamton Now on News Radio 1290 WNBF Binghamton and WNBF.com.
I'm Bob Joseph. Today is Wednesday, November 6, 2024. It's the day after the elections. WNBF! And welcome to the program. A really big show on tap for you between now and noon. We open the phone lines at 607-772-1290 because we want to hear what the people have to say. So if you have something to say, and I'm quite sure you have something to say, don't wait, don't hesitate, call now. Call now and discuss the issues that now face America. These are the times that America, this is America at its best right now. The United States, once divided, now becoming more united. That's what we would like to see. So, if you have thoughts about everything that's transpired, whether just over the last day or so, or maybe the last 4 years, or 8 years, or 12 years, or whatever, feel free to participate in our Gab Fest. Coming up later today, of course, there will be more talk about the election results, so if you simply cannot get enough election result discussion, don't worry. Don't worry. We will have you covered today on WNBF at 92.1 FM, 1290 AM, online at WNBF.com. It's 9:12. Let's go to the busy phones. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, this is Bob from Shenango Fork.
Morning, Bob.
Hey, it's about time we get a president we like in there.
I think America is going to be pleased with the efforts to unify us and bring us together.
Well, we do need that. You know, I'm sure it's going to upset a lot of the nice Democrats we have in this area. But today, I'm heading over to Fort Trump to celebrate. And you know where that is. It's a fine establishment in Shenango Forks.
Maybe I'll go up there after the program and spend a few hours this afternoon getting the reactions from the people.
Yeah, it's too bad. I want to see our newspaper. I think years ago, you used to see something in the news in the morning. You know what I'm saying? Because the press was published maybe here, this, that. Now, we won't get anything in the news till maybe tomorrow, but maybe the day after. And, people like to know the local results also. So, but Bob, have a great day.
All right. Celebrate responsibly.
I will.
Thank you. Have a great day. It's 9:13 WNBF. I'm going to pack a lot of calls into this program today. At least that's my plan. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, this is Rich from Endwell. How you doing today, Bob?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. God bless America, the people have spoken.
The people get this opportunity every 4 years. And it's great that the people go to the polls and sometimes substantial numbers. I think most people I know were very, very engaged in the election. And we're looking forward to having their opportunity to cast their ballot.
Yes, it was a great election cycle, I would have to say. And popular vote, electoral vote. Let's try to get the House in there and make it all happen.
As they say, stay tuned. It's going to be an interesting 4 years. Stay tuned.
It will. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. 9:14 News Radio, WNBF, the station that's there for you. Think about it. all your life, WNBF has been there for you. I would say almost everybody, maybe not everybody, almost everybody listening has always had WNBF. We've been one of the constants with live and local programming from our inception nearly a century ago. So that's what we're about. We give you the information. The information station. And that's my goal. Keep providing the information. 9:15, time for another call on this Wednesday morning. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Bob, hi. It's Gary from the West Side.
Good morning.
Congratulations to Donald Trump. I am not a Trump supporter. I did not vote for him, but I do support him now. He is our president, and I stand behind him. So, it was what a comeback. It was an amazing thing what he did. I wasn't sure he could do it. I think the Dems lost with the border. They lost on the border, and they might have lost with the economy, too. So, that was a thing. It was a good night. I'm glad it's over. Did Josh Riley win? I think, they can't say whether he did or he didn't.
I don't know the official result. Well, obviously it's not going to be official till December. Yeah, last I knew he was leading. So maybe he'll call in.
There's a couple of things that, even though I'm not a Donald Trump supporter, I do like some of the things that he's up, and most people may not like this, but I like that RFK Jr. is going to be hopefully, looking at the CDC and the people who are in charge of food, whatever that is, FTC, I don't know.
FDA.
FDA, thank you. And, I kind of like that myself. Elon Musk is going to take a look at how we spend our money and how we can, cut that down, cut the fat out. These could be good things, Bob. No matter what, if you're a Democrat, it's going to be okay. It really is. Life goes on. It's going to be okay.
So I just punched up the screen for the latest results in the 19th district.
Yeah.
So according to this, it's with 95% of the votes in. So almost all the votes.
And
according to AP, he's leading by 1 percentage point. According to this,
how many votes is that? 100,000?
It is no. It's less than 4,000. No, it's still
4,
close.
Wow.
So according to this tabulation, and it hasn't been updated in a few hours, but I don't think that there are going to be big updates. Well, there might be a few updates today. We'll see how some additional numbers come in. The last numbers posted here from AP were 180,528 for Josh Riley and 176,850 for Mark Molinaro. So that is approximately, 3,700 votes? It's less than 3,700 votes. It's so, according percentage-wise, 50.5% for Josh Riley, 49.5% for Mark Molinaro. Now, according to AP, the Associated Press, has called the race and declared that Josh Riley is the winner. So AP is usually reliable, but they're not perfect. But before they call a race, they take a lot of factors into account as far as even though it's not 100% of the votes in, whether it's statistically possible for the other candidate to make up the difference. And my guess is the AP has decided in the 19th district that Mark Molinaro can't make up that difference, even though it's a very small difference.
Wow. Very few of the people that I voted for, like Bobby Wessler, county legislator, and Jason Garnett, which, Bob, I'm surprised that Republicans can't come. I mean, that was your only choice.
Well, they could have, and again, I'm not saying they should have, but say, why not? But say if there was a talk show host who was well known, why wouldn't the Republicans say, you've often said on the program that you believe every incumbent ought to face a challenge. So here's your opportunity. I mean, I'm not saying, there are other talk shows in town. So,
you wouldn't have stepped in that role?
No, I wouldn't. No, but no, I wouldn't.
You've got a job.
I have a job that makes me happy. Trust me. Being
and
county,
that's the best thing. Isn't that a fantastic thing, Bob? To
it
be
is.
Doing what you like.
I have to say, being county executive or mayor or running any government, no, that's that. Thank goodness people will do it for whatever their motivations. We need people to serve as mayors and county executives and town supervisors and governors and presidents, and everybody may have their own motivation as to why they run. But I don't care if it was handed to me on a silver platter. Oh, Bob, you're a shoo-in. Yeah, I don't need, and you don't. I obviously hosting this program, I've managed to cope with not being embraced by all the people all the time, so I can deal with that.
And you have a tough skin. Yeah,
I've had to develop a tough skin. I didn't have one when I started this program, but
really,
no. People who know me know I'm very sensitive, and I don't like the the nastiness, but that's evolved. I've gotten used to it, and I keep it in what I think is proper perspective. And
that's a tough thing.
Well, and for people who have some of the harshest criticism and sometimes extremely nasty, and sometimes, to be honest, sometimes I think they go too far. I try not to take it personally. I try to also understand their motivation. So, hope it doesn't necessarily make a difference to them, but I hope they understand that, I'm just glad they listen, and for those who stopped listening, I wish them the best. Maybe they'll listen again. I appreciate your call.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gary.
Bob.
And there you go. First segment underway. Our first segment is history, but don't worry. We have much, much, much more to come right here on News Radio, WNBF and WNBF.com.
Providing you with the best solutions of your lifetime. The KSO Insurance Weekly Spotlight with Karen Sweet O'Neill on News Radio 1290 WNBF.
And this segment is sponsored by KSO Insurance Solutions. Good morning, Karen.
Good morning, Bob. It's going to be a busy day at the radio station with your call-ins.
Very busy. We'll have lots of calls, and we'll have lots of viewpoints.
Lots of viewpoints, lots of opinions, but you know what? It's over.
It's over.
That's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But what isn't over, here's my segue into Medicare, is the annual open enrollment period for people that have to choose coverage that are on Medicare or stick with what they have. It's October 15th to December 7th, and it's going fast, and it's busy. And one of the things that people should really be aware of, and we were going to talk about this, and we will this morning, is that up to 5%, Bob, of enrollees, Medicare enrollees, are actually being terminated. Their plans that they're on are being terminated in 2025. That may not sound like a big percentage, but it's a big percentage. So last year we had about 52 Medicare Advantage plans in our area alone that people were eligible for. It's down to 40, and in some of the Tri-County areas, it's down to 30, 35. So the options are getting squeezed, and what that means is, of course, there's less competition out there, less choice. But if you are in a Medicare Advantage plan and it is being dropped, whether it's United Healthcare or Humana or whatever company it is, they need to send you a correspondence telling you that your coverage will end December 31st and that you need to get new coverage because guess what? You are not automatically going to be assigned to another Medicare Advantage plan offered by that insurer that dropped you. So you don't want to wake up January 1, 2025 and say, hey, couldn't get my prescriptions at the pharmacy because they said I don't have any coverage. So you really need to pay attention to your annual notice of change or any correspondence from your insurance company that you have now. Also, when you switch, if you're in a Medicare Advantage plan, let's go back. Let's say you're in traditional Medicare, A and B, and then you have a Medicare supplement plan. If you then switch to an Advantage plan, in many instances, it can be an irreversible move. And what do I mean by that? Well, it means sometimes you can't switch back to a Medicare supplement plan. Now, there's 4 states in the country, and thank goodness we are one of them. It's Connecticut, Massachusetts, Maine, and New York, where we are not, the insurance companies that offer Medicare supplement, Medigap plans are not allowed to ask you medical questions and to preclude you from getting a Medicare supplement plan. That is a very, very big deal because in many instances, and in Pennsylvania is right on our border, as we all know, not the case in many situations. The insurance company can ask you medical questions. They can deny you coverage for a supplemental plan, and it means that you may not be able to get one at all. So before you switch, if you do, you want to make sure that you know the rules and the regulations of the state that you're in so that you don't, make it where you can't go back to a plan that you actually liked, but you just wanted to try out a Medicare Advantage plan because maybe it was zero premium and your Medicare supplement plan's now up to $300-400 a month. Could be a very costly move, so just be careful. Of course, we're taking open enrollment appointments. We are at 1708 Vestal Parkway, up above and behind Plato's Closet. You drive right up to us. We're one level. You can make an appointment several ways, and we are getting booked up. You can simply give us a call at 607-772-4898. You can Google us at KSO Insurance, and all our contact information will come up, including our website, and you can make an appointment that way. Or if you missed the phone number, we have a big display ad under insurance in the yellow pages.
Excellent.
Thank you, Bob.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you better get back on those phones.
I know.
I know people want to talk about it.
Wouldn't it be funny, though? Here it's like 9:30. Wouldn't it be funny if for the next 2.5 hours nobody has an opinion? And then I can talk about... seriously, I'm prepared as a professional host of Binghamton's Best program. I'm prepared to talk about other topics if nobody calls in, because there's a chance after, all the weeks, months, and years of discussing the election, maybe people are totally talked out, and maybe now they have no opinion.
Wow. I don't think that's going to happen. But anything can happen.
Yeah. Or maybe the phone company will decide, as they've done in the past sometimes, that 9:30 in the morning is a great time to do work on the phones.
Let's hope not.
Yeah. Well, they've done it before.
At least they squeezed me in, so
yes,
I'm all right with that.
You're good. Anyway, thank you.
All right, Bob. Yep. Have a great day.
You too. WNBF. More calls. More often. WNBF. All right. Let's take more of those calls at 607-772-1290. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
It would be Jesse from Owego. And Robert, I remember when you were first filling in for Tony Russell. You were a cubby. You were a lovable little fuzzball. Such a nice guy.
And then what? And then you have to ask yourself, then what happened? What happened to the guy who was on a little over 13 years ago, filling in temporarily for Tony Russell. What happened to that guy? Where did he go?
Exactly. He's going where we're going. If
well,
I might need a set of picks in my case, but we shall see.
Yeah. So, what do you make of the results? The results. The people have now spoken.
I got a kick out of it. Yesterday, I had a friend of mine a little bit of money because I got a pizza. I ran out of money. I went to the ATM, and there was a line. I thought they were doing a run on the bank anyway. I says, I'll wait till the next day, which happened to be yesterday. So I go to this bar, which you know, right there on Front Street, and they were having a election party. So the bar wasn't actually open. It was invitation only. But being that I was paying the money, they let me in, and I have never seen such election anxiety in a very long time. So I got to witness it for myself. And I had a field trip. But I'm looking at everybody, I'm just taking my time, relaxing, watching them. They were so anxious. And I'm just like, wow. I mean, I've been through a lot of elections in my time, Bob, but I've never seen anxiety on that kind of level. But at the same time, they were having a good time. So it was just interesting. I guess that's the best way to phrase it.
I'm mystified by all the emotion. I mean, I know it's big. Trust me, I understand every presidential election is big, and every time they have a presidential election, they say it's the most important election in our lifetime. So the one in 2028 will be the big one. And then in 2032, the bigger one. And then 2036, the biggest one. You see what happens. I mean, it's always big. Every presidential election for the people of the United States, of course it's big. But I don't understand the people losing sleep over election results or losing sleep, say, in recent days or weeks or even months because they didn't know how it would go. And I think too many people buy into the mistaken notion that a president is likely to change everything. A president can do a lot, and presidents do significant things as far as Supreme Court appointees, executive orders, and more. But there are some checks and balances. But it also means we have to always be aware and on guard for things that happen. And I have to also say at the same time, one thing that is not good is what's happened to journalism. We have less original news today than we've ever had in this country, at least in modern times, and that doesn't help us. That doesn't help us at the local level or state or national levels. We need more news organizations. We need more reporters because a lot of stuff is not getting properly covered.
Well, are we evolutionizing or de-evolutionizing? Makes me wonder. And if I remember right, Karen Sweet O'Neill has a sign on her desk. And I forget what it says exactly, but nothing remains the same. Everything changes.
Right. Everything always does change. And as far as what happens today or in the next month or what happens starting January 20th, I don't know. Now, I will say I do spend some time thinking about stuff that could happen. And occasionally, when I think about possible things that could happen in the next few years, I get somewhat concerned. But there's only so much we can control as individuals. So, and ultimately, the people spoke here.
Yes, they did.
And a lot of people voted. So, I still continue to be amazed by the millions of people who don't vote. And I'm sure in the next 4 years, we'll hear from some people who didn't bother to vote either Tuesday or in early voting, and they'll be among those who have some loud complaints. But they probably aren't going to admit they didn't vote.
Well, too bad for them. If you don't vote, don't talk about it. Don't complain.
Well, I don't. I know people say that if you don't vote, you have no right to complain. In my view,
okay,
it's still tantamount to a vote. If you opt out, and a lot of people tell me, and whether it's for the presidential campaign, that contest, or other contests, people say, I don't like either candidate, and I get it. And some people have said, well, if they had none of the above as an option, none of the above would probably win. And that might be true. But that's not how our system works. And the way I look at it, take advantage of your right to vote, even if you know 100 other people who would be better for the job. Appreciate your call.
Yep. The only thing I can say is when you get 16 tons, you're another day older and deeper in debt. You know how it goes.
That's how it goes. Songwriter hit it right on the nose. 9:38 News Radio, WNBF. Yes, it's time to talk. Of course, for a host of Binghamton Now, it's always time to talk. Call us. Go ahead. Go ahead. You know you want to. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning there, Bob. It's Dave from Vestal. Man, I almost couldn't wake up in time to hear the beginning of the show. It was a long, long night. Man, Bob, I certainly don't want you to tell us, well, you wouldn't anyway, so you voted for it, but could you be honest and tell us at least, did you expect this? Or no?
I didn't know what to expect.
You didn't?
No, I didn't know. No, I could have seen this happening. I could have seen some other scenarios. I didn't know what to expect. So sometimes I act like I am pretty smart as far as having a sense of how things will go. With this election, I really had no sense. All I knew, first of all, as I've said countless times to the point where people are sick of it, I don't think all of the focus on public opinion polls for the days and weeks and months and years ahead of Election Day, I think that's a giant waste of time. I know there's a huge industry that engages in public opinion, and I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm saying they should keep doing what they do and post their results on their website. But the news media and talk shows and just other opinionators spend too much time focusing on the horse race and too much time focusing on what's going on in Gwinnett County or whatever. Hey, I know for people who are hardcore political observers, that's important. For most of America, our eyes glaze over. And with all the discussions of, trends, and hey, we saw all sorts of trends being reported over the last 10 days, and then we saw the results of the election. This is just further fuel on my never-ending fire of stop paying so much attention to public opinion polls and start covering more about the issues and more about what the candidates say they'll do and more about what the candidates have done. Less polling coverage and more issue coverage.
Yes, and Bob, and thank you for giving us this platform to express ourselves. And before I go, Bob, two quick things about the election. You know me, I've been harping the past 3 years about, the woke DAs and the crime and the border. I know I've been driving you crazy with all that, but Bob, I think those are the two biggest things. I know people's pocketbooks, their pockets matter a lot, their wallets matter a lot, but people want to feel safe, Bob. And blacks and Hispanics, like I predicted, they didn't like them jamming all those immigrants in their living space, Bob, and with good people that come in. I'm sure there were a lot of good people, like you said, many a time, wanting a better life, but there was bad people coming in with them. The way they did it, they killed themselves doing that, Bob. And with the woke DAs and all the crime going on, and it was so much more magnified. But by the way they did it with the revolving doors, or they go back out and repeat, people wanted to feel safe, Bob. And I think those two things right there really made the difference. So I'm glad it's over.
Oh, yeah. Now we can look forward to the 2028 election. Gee, I wonder who the candidates will be for that one.
Oh, hey, I have a prediction already, Bob. How about J.D. Vance choosing Nikki Haley? If she doesn't run in the primary against Vance, how about a ticket of Vance and Haley, or Vance and Don Jr.? How about that one?
Well, no, not Don Jr. Anybody but Don Jr. Please. And look. You know, he's going to do well in the private sector. Trust me. Don Jr. doesn't want or need to be in the White House or vice president. I can't even imagine. And say what you will about our current vice president or anybody else who has occupied that job in the past. What a horrible job. Think about it. What a horrible job. And I could run down the list of names of vice presidents in our lifetime or vice presidents in the past. I can't imagine a single one of them was really very happy about being vice president.
Hey, you know what, though, Bob? We got to give Don Jr. some credit there, because he really, really pushed his father hard to choose J.D. Vance. And it turned out to be a wise, well, so far we can say a wise selection. Let's see what he does.
Who's
Hopefully.
to say? Also, and again, I'm not predicting anything, but you know, Donald Trump is noted for his unpredictability. So who is to say that at some point in the next 2 or 3 years that he doesn't come up with this thing like, you know, I've enjoyed all the power and the adulation and the global attention I get being president of the United States now for 6 years. But, you know, I think now is a good time for me to just hang out and enjoy life at Mar-a-Lago. So who's to say he wouldn't resign somewhere midway or just after the midway point in his term, and then we have President Vance, say, in 2027.
Yeah, you know, that could happen.
It could happen, and then that makes it, I'm not saying it makes it impossible, but certainly would give Vance a lot of potential momentum going into a 2028 campaign. It's not to say there would be no Republican primaries, but most other Republicans, if he was president at the time, say in late 2027, and people were trying to figure out who the best Republican candidates might be for the primaries in 2028, some would be discouraged from running against the guy who is the incumbent president, even though he became president just because of a resignation. That would make it interesting. It also would give him, assuming that everything is going relatively well, would give him an advantage over whoever the Democratic nominee would be in 2028.
I don't see it unless there was an illness, Bob, because, you know, when he lost in 2020, he was on his way. There's things he wanted to do more. The country would have been humming along even better.
Yeah, but what if he had a secret agreement with Mr. Vance, and it would have to be a secret agreement, but say, here's the deal, Jade. I don't know if they call him Jade, JD. Here's the deal, Mr. Vance, my good friend. I will resign, so you automatically become president, but in exchange for that, you agree to follow my directives, because I will have a special phone line to you to tell you what to do as president. That's the deal. We can't put it in writing because that would be unseemly. But couldn't they have a deal like that?
They could, Bob, but yeah.
You're just sorry you didn't think of it. I'm saying that would give the Republicans a big advantage, assuming in 2028 the nation wasn't facing some other terrible crisis, the types of which we've been through, and then the types of which maybe we've never been through. So hard to say. But anyway, it's going to be interesting. That much I know.
It is, Bob. I just hope. You know what? I'm surprised. I got to give the left credit because they're not out, destroying and wrecking. I heard. I was getting worried on the news. I heard that Hochul had the National Guard standing by and New York City police where they had
she had to do that because remember after the insurrection, January 6, 2021, and Nancy Pelosi caught so much flack, ostensibly for not taking more steps to protect the Capitol. So Governor Hochul and other governors learned the hard way that you better take some advance action or else if something goes sideways, you're going to be in for a lot of criticism. So I think that explains it. Appreciate your call. It's 9:48 News Radio WNBF. You're on the air. How are things in the town of Tioga, Richard?
Oh, swimming out here. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I have all my 6 acres, no neighbors near me. It's the way I like it. And my German Shepherd. Don't forget my baby.
Sounds nice to me.
I saw a post online this morning. One of the local diners was advertising a Joe Biden breakfast special, and I was thinking maybe you could take Matt Ryan for it. You want to know what the special is?
I'm afraid to ask.
Oatmeal. They're serving a large portion of oatmeal in honor of your outgoing president, and then for dessert, you get a large piece of humble pie.
I don't know. It's very strange. Very strange.
I'm sure Matt's down for a free breakfast. So.
One of the things I have thought about, what if, and again, at this point, it makes no difference, but what if, say, even before that June debate on CNN, seems so long ago, but really it wasn't that long ago. It was less than 6 months ago. What if Joe Biden and his campaign people decided to decline the invitation to be on the debate, come up with some excuse, any excuse would do, got to wash my hair, or whatever, some excuse, scheduling conflict, and then concocted some sort of thing where he chose to resign, and he could cite his health. I've got health issues. He wouldn't have to say, I'm getting too old, and so I'm no longer capable of doing the job. He could just cite health issues, and nobody would have to know all the specifics. So say if he had resigned as of July 1st, and then Kamala Harris became president in light of his resignation, would that have given her enough additional momentum over the next few months to possibly have pulled it off, or at least made the November election closer?
I don't think that 25th Amendment end-around move was going to work.
Yeah.
Bob, only because you're attached to 3.5, 4 years of bad history. I listen to businesses. I own a business myself, and I know what the inflation has done to cost of goods, cost of labor, cost of insurance over the last 4 years. It's driving people out of business left and right. Look at all the bankruptcies you keep reading about with restaurant chains and stuff. It's almost an epidemic. They just couldn't survive. They just couldn't survive and continue on the way we were. So you got to be hopeful. You got to be hopeful.
So, but now we can turn our attention back to New York State and Kathy Hochul. So what can be done now about Kathy Hochul? Because everybody seems upset about Kathy Hochul for a multitude of reasons, some that might be appropriate and some that aren't necessarily appropriate. But she seems to be an issue for many New Yorkers, especially upstate. I mean, for a woman who is theoretically a governor from upstate New York, she doesn't seem to be very well liked by upstate residents.
She becomes irrelevant. It's irrelevant as Cuomo became when his empire started to crumble. I think, anyways. I think we're so overburdened. I had a visit from her illustrious Labor Department a couple of years ago, and it was just outright government harassment. In the end, they find me something totally irrelevant, but the level and the depth that they went to look at my business, this wasn't just a welcome stranger or anything. This is somebody you didn't hear a peep from. Been in business for 4 years prior to that. Never heard a word from them. And all of a sudden they show up with badges out. Literally, Bob, I'm not kidding. I can show you still on the tape, interrogating our two children about what they were. My one son, at the time, was 14. He had working papers. And she was younger, but they're doing nothing wrong. But when you get that kind of harassment as a small business owner,
well, sounds in some ways similar. And I know this is not the same thing as what happened a few days ago with Peanut the squirrel, but it sounds sort of the same attitude that the DEC took with the guy and his squirrel and raccoon. It seems New York State people, government people, think they are all powerful and can basically barge into your home or business at will. I mean, granted, to barge into your home, they needed to get a warrant, and they got a warrant, but they still did it.
Right. Well, I will tell you this, that was very, very traumatic. I mean, they deep dived our Facebook page, told us we had to take down our one billboard that we have up, which I put back up after it was all said and done. But they got us on an obscure, we didn't have forms on file for employees. I'd never even heard of this one particular form, but did we comply? You bet we did. After that.
Well, hey, what choice do you have? They're the government. The government can shut you down.
Oh, absolutely, and I don't defy that. I accept it for what it is, but it still doesn't make you feel good about your powers that be.
Right. Appreciate your call.
Furthers the
one of these days, I'm going to stop out there.
Bob.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. See you.
Yep. 9:57. We have more calls coming up. Binghamton Now. Bob Joseph, WNBF. We begin this hour of Binghamton Now with a focus on the Endicott Rotary Club. We're joined by Darlene Leonard. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm great.
Well, I was talking with you a few days ago, and it occurred to me it's been a while since you've been on our program talking about some of the activities that are done by members of the Endicott Rotary Club, and I thought it would be a good idea to have you come on and talk for a few minutes about some of the things that have been going on, and also a look ahead. I see you've been part of the Rotary Club now for over a quarter century.
That's correct.
Wow. What compelled you to join?
Well, I was asked to join, and that's usually how Rotary Club works. You usually ask a person and it becomes their sponsor. So I was asked to join back in, I think, 1997, something like that. And so I was hooked. I mean, as soon as I became a member, I was hooked. I love the causes that they stand for. I'm very proud to be part of it in our community. And all of the people in the club, we become very good friendships. We share each other's businesses and alliances, and they're just resources for each other. It's a fantastic opportunity for anyone.
I understand the Endicott Rotary Club is growing, that you're adding several members.
Yes, tomorrow we're adding another 5 more, and we also had 5 more starting from our Rotary year is from July 1st till June 30th. So, and starting from July 1st, we've added 10 altogether, which puts our number into well over 60 members, which is phenomenal for any Rotary Club in our area. And we're just very lucky. We have a great group of people who attract other people, and they believe in our cause, and it's easy after that.
Well, it is encouraging at a time a lot of organizations are either have membership has been stable or has been steadily declining, that you're actually moving in the opposite direction.
That's a fact. I think people believe in the causes that we're standing for. I think especially those of us here in Endicott, we want to support our hometown and our village. It's just a catchy thing, and we've got good people who have come together to do exactly that.
What are some of the most recent things that Endicott Rotary has been involved in trying to improve life around the community?
Actually, yes, they have planted the flowers and in the triangle, which is in front of the Endicott Fire Station. There, you can see it right from Main Street. We planted that little triangle with just to be more decorative as the village requested, and we took care of that project. We were involved in the trunk or treat at Southern Tier Community Center. We were a vendor there with our car and lots of goodies for the children there. We are constantly going to be helping with food boxes of food for the holiday season for those that may not have enough to eat during the holiday season. So that's a huge project where we will be giving away 3 boxes of food to these people who sign up for them. So that's coming up in early December. We also have been very involved with we do the concession stand at Binghamton University for basketball games, and that's where they in turn pay us a fee, which we too can put into our foundation and therefore give that money out as donations for local clubs and local agencies that need us, not-for-profit agencies. So we're able to donate money to them in our own area, as well as international. Rotary is an international club. It's all over the world. So just recently, our foundation gave money to Asheville, Tennessee, with their recent hurricane disaster down there. And so we were able to communicate with the Rotary in Asheville, and there in turn, we can give it directly to them, and they in turn can give it to the people who need it. So we reach out beyond our own community as well.
And the Endicott Rotary Club has been part of the community now for over a century. You've been serving Endicott and the Southern Tier for more than 100 years.
Yes. In 2021, we celebrated 100 years, so that makes us now 103. And yes, it's a strong organization. Started out with some businessmen in Endicott, and it's grown to be teachers, lawyers, bankers, nurses, doctors, whatever. It's just grown to be a lot of professions and people who want to give back to the community and have a vehicle to do it through us.
And one of the other things, people may have heard the story we did a few days ago, last Friday, about the new holiday tree that was erected on East Main Street near the municipal building and UE High School. The original tree had been there for, I believe, 43 years, had finally unfortunately gotten to the end of its life, so it was replaced last week. The original tree was donated by the Endicott Rotary Club, and I understand that coming up in a little over a month, or a little less than a month from now, that the new tree is going to be dedicated to the Endicott Rotary Club. So there will be a continuing acknowledgement of the work that the Rotary Club has been doing for Endicott.
Yes, that's true. And I can give you some examples of other donations in parts of the Endicott that they have been involved with. They helped build the Visitors Center, the community center in Endicott many, many years ago. The clock that sits in front of the post office downtown, it was donated by Rotary. They also most recently donated a lot of time and money into the restoration of the George F. Johnson statue there on Main Street between UE administration and the UE High School. They're just constantly looking for these projects that they can hang their hat on and be proud that they are a part of Endicott and the village.
Darlene Leonard, appreciate your joining us. If people want more information about the Endicott Rotary Club, how can they get that?
They can visit our website. Gives you lots of information just on Endicott Rotary Club. You can look it up. There's phone numbers on there. There's emails on there. There's our place where we meet on there. All the information, things that we've been doing in the past and currently. So check it out on the website.
Thank you for being with us this morning. We'll keep in touch.
Thank you very much. Okay.
That's Darlene Leonard. A little overview of what the Endicott Rotary Club has been up to. Now, at 10:18, I am pleased to report we're going to open up the phone lines. We'll be taking phone calls between now and noon. If you want to talk about election results or other things, Binghamton and beyond, you can do it. 607-772-1290. This is Binghamton Now, WNBF 92.1 FM, 1290 AM. Stay connected using the free WNBF app. Binghamton Now, as we go back to the busy phone lines. Mike in Montrose, you're on the air.
Hi, Bob. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I don't know if you're pleased with the election or not. I don't think either candidate was perfect by any means, but I think we'll probably be better off with Trump in there. I think he's had experience in there, and like I said, the people are always worried about the border and the economy and everything. But my question to you is, if you think, is it going to be just like the last 4 years of Trump? I mean, day one, are they going to have impeachment papers on his desk? Or, I mean, are we going to have to go through all that stuff again? And, you know, it was just 4 years of a headache is what it was.
I hope not, but I don't know what to predict. It's, you know, if we wind up with starting things off in 2025 on a really acrimonious note, it doesn't bode well. The country has a lot. As politicians would say, the country has a lot of challenges. You and I would say the country has a lot of problems. So those challenges and problems need to be addressed, and I don't think they're going to be addressed if the Democrats and Republicans can't actually sit down and try to accomplish a few things.
Yeah, I mean, even though like that, there's, you know, if we have the House and the Senate, the Republicans, I mean, some of the Democrats, you know, they say they jumped on Trump's shirt tails to get in there. Are they just getting in there and so they can, you know, fight him every step of the way? I'd like to see what he could accomplish. I mean, last time he had, you know, it seemed like he had peace in the Middle East, and you know, he was, you know, with China, he seemed like he was doing pretty good.
Well, he'll be able to demonstrate his abilities to bring peace to a troubled world, and he certainly suggested he could do a lot with respect to the Middle East and to with the war in Ukraine. He's going to get a chance to demonstrate it. I'm anxious to see what he does because I'm tired of war.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, he says he can stop that conflict in 24 hours. I mean, I don't know.
Well, that's why it's going to be fun to watch, because we won't have to wait long to see to see if he fulfills that promise.
Right.
So obviously he'll be sworn in at noon on January 20th, so we should know by the evening newscast on January 21st whether he was able to fulfill the promise of bringing peace.
Well, that'd be good because that's my birthday.
Yeah, well, that would be good. That'd be a great present. You don't need anything else, just world peace. If that's it, who needs cake?
Yeah.
Appreciate your call.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, I'm all for world peace. Tom in Endwell, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Bob. I think the election went pretty much as planned. Trump outperformed 2016, and he also outperformed 2020 election. But I do. People are worried about rioting. All I can say is give it time. The election's not 100% over yet. There's still a lot going on. Yes, you will see. I do believe you'll see indictments. You'll see impeachments. I think you're going to get a repeat of 2020. The Democrats have moved the agenda so far, they cannot let it go. They can't let it go. I think you'll see that happening. As of war, I think if you don't see anything major from now until the time where the transition happens, I think everything's going to run smoothly. But this is only my opinion. There's zero facts, but I think you're going to see a ramp up in war because that can change on keeping the president that we have right now in or not. That's just my opinion. I don't know a ton about that. Once Trump gets in, I 100% believe that you're going to see Hollywood, the elites, a lot of people in government squirming over human trafficking. That is Trump's number one agenda back in 2016. That's why everybody started seeing those Q signs. QAnon is 95% about human trafficking. That's why you saw Oprah Winfrey, a lot of the Hollywood stepping up. They know it's coming. They know it's coming. Disney, all of them, they know it's coming. I believe that you will see the human trafficking get exposed to the highest level that I honestly believe it's going to shock America.
All right. Well, I'll be keeping an eye out on the coverage. Appreciate your call. It's 10:27 at WNBF. Matt in Binghamton. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, Bob. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I think that Rex MD commercial, they have to come up with a new medication for all us who are terrified of what happened yesterday. Now, I will say that Trump stayed on message last night. I'm not saying I saw all his speech, but it seemed like he stuck to the teleprompter and kind of gave a unifying message, which is very unusual for him. What's really going to tell the tale is what he does when all the threats he's made during the campaign against people like Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi and all these folks. I said this 8 years ago. I remember I called in after Trump won the first time, and I was hoping because he, was an outside the box guy, was a guy who people were just fed up with, wanted something different other than a regular quotes politician, and I was hopeful that he might do the right thing. Now I'm much less hopeful because I went through 4 years of what he did and how he managed himself and how he's, did everything to enrich his family, Jared Kushner, do things that destabilized the Middle East, all sorts of things that he did. And I think they're always I just think, if we don't have at least the House, we're in real trouble. Because, see, he talked about the deep state. The deep state is what will happen if he exercises the clause that says, that public servants don't have any protection anymore, because that's what they were doing with Project 2025. They have a think tank right now that's vetting all these people that they're going to put in positions and purge the thing that keeps us from being a deep state, is those non-political people who do their jobs in all the different agencies that are necessary to run a country. So if that's the kinds of things we got to watch for. If they follow through on that and get rid of everybody that's a committed public servant who puts politics aside to do their job in so many different agencies, then you create the deep state. And that's exactly what Orban did in Hungary. And those are the things we have to watch for, because people on my side of the aisle are terrified of what this presidency could mean, because he's not going to have any guardrails this time. He knows he's not going to put anybody in that isn't a yes person. Mitch McConnell's going to be gone. You're going to have...
Yeah, I mean, it'll be fascinating to see what he does and how quickly he does it, because you know what he said he was going to do on day one.
Right.
So, I really hope that the news media are prepared on day one to provide comprehensive coverage, not just the usual type of coverage, feature-oriented coverage that goes with a typical inaugural. What we need is the people who are part of, whether it's what's left of newspapers or TV or radio or online media organizations, we need them to be on their game. They have to be up and running, not just on January 20th, but even in the days before January 20th, to look for signs of anything that smacks of him being a dictator, if only on day one.
The thing is, don't forget, that's another threat he made, is that he wants to withdraw CBS's license.
Well, but the thing is, he can't do it. He can't do it. He can talk. He thinks that CBS and NBC and ABC are licensed. They're not. They have some stations are owned by the networks, and those stations are licensed. He cannot, as president, just summarily say, "Oh, I'm going to yank the license of WCBS in New York, or WBBM in Chicago, or KCAL in Los Angeles." It's not going to happen. So, I mean...
I agree with that. That's probably a less likely thing.
Yeah, I mean, but it's still just the fact he would say such things, and even his, what was it, a $10 billion lawsuit filed against CBS News for the 60 Minutes interview. I mean, those things are certainly cause for concern for people who love journalism.
You know, the other issue that I'm worried about is, look who he said he's going to put in charge of certain things. You know, like I said, I really believe that this election was, and I hope I'm proven wrong, but this election is about whether we become more of an oligarchy than we already are. We already are controlled by billionaires. We saw Jeff Bezos afraid to make an endorsement because, even though everybody rails against him for giving money to the left and the Democrats, he's afraid to even let his newspaper make an endorsement.
I know. And so was the owner of the Los Angeles Times. So it's sad. It's sad. Matt, thank you for the call. It's 10:33 at WNBF. Yeah, it's sad that journalism, as bad as the state of journalism was in this country at the start of this year, look how much worse everything has gotten in terms of overall journalism. Very, very few bright spots in U.S. journalism or global journalism in 2024. Hi, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Yippee, Bob from Vesta.
Hey, welcome.
I see. I don't listen anymore. I just was picking some chicken off the bones, and there's Matt Ryan with the same stuff I heard years ago. I don't know. You're never going to change. You're just going to keep the same stuff up. Oh, I'm hurt, Joseph. All your liberal buddies, what if I died? Nobody even asked what happened to Bob from Boston.
What?
They probably wished I died.
No.
Yeah.
Nobody wished you died.
Oh, yeah, come on.
Come on.
You know?
No. Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody. Trust me on this one. Trust me. I sound like a politician, and I apologize for that.
Yeah, you are a politician. Oh, I asked about that Ron guy, and I see he's back on. See, I care. I'm a Republican.
Yeah, I care too. I'm an independent. I am not registered with any party.
Don't start that. We know what you are. You're a liberal. So anyway, yeah, like I said, I found Gallagher. He's out of Horseheads. I go down to Apple Lake, and it comes in great. And Ross Corners Park, it comes in great.
Well, all Americans should be listening to Binghamton now. And the whole point of America is to support your local talk show host.
No, I don't like local. I just turn it over to you when there's a commercial on Gallagher.
No, don't listen to that. Whatever you do, don't listen to that. Listen to WNBF, because WNBF is the station that serves Vestal and the entire greater Binghamton community.
Cut Vestal down all the time.
I don't. I care about Vestal.
I hear you all the time going on about Vestal.
Well, but it's not always negative. There's a lot of positive going on in Vestal. I was just in Vestal working on a story this morning.
Well, we don't want you here. Yeah, I've lived here all my life. When you start cutting, you and that John from Binghamton, Vestal this and Vestal that. Vestal's the best place around here. Okay, I've had my say. Somebody else recognized my voice the other day.
All right. Well, the main thing is I'm glad you're well. I wish you only the best going forward, and enjoy the holiday season.
I was hoping somebody go, what happened to that guy? Did he kick the bucket? But nobody even cared, you see.
We all care. It's an extended family. We care.
Don't even start that. All right.
Take care. 1036 News Radio, WNBF and the WNBF family, 607-772-1290. This is the station that cares. I'm Bob Joseph, the host that cares on Binghamton Now. As we go back to the busy phones at 1039, DJ in Binghamton, you're on the air.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Well, that was a blessing. Bob from Vestal, I've asked about him. Sure, I did. And I'd also like to hear other ones like Rob from Port Crane call up. You know what I think they ought to do? I think they ought to change the name to Blestal instead of Vestal with a BL, because that would be very nice. How was your night, Bob? What'd you do? How'd you stay home and watch the votes come in or what?
Well, I was out for a bit, and then I went home. But, I don't usually get to go out on a election night. I'm usually then later not home on an election night. Usually I'm covering the elections, but we didn't cover the elections last night, so I was able to spend some time discussing situations with local political experts, and then I went home to watch. I rarely get a chance to see local election coverage, so I was able to observe the local TV stations with their election coverage. So that's a rare. I don't know if I've ever been able to do that before. I don't think so. So, it was weird being a journalist observing.
Right. Well, last night I was watching the votes come in downtown, and as I was walking around, I took a break, went outside, walked down the street, and as I was downtown, you know what I thought? I thought this ought to be a season of forgiveness, and it needs to start with me. So anybody I've offended, whether it was watching the votes come in years past or anything. I remember, many years ago when Mayor Rich David used to have it at the, over there on State Street across from where his new place is now. I forget where they had the banquets. Just anything I've, done, even on the radio, anything I've done to offend anyone, just forgive me as I forgive you, and we walk in forgiveness, because it really needs to be. Silly season's over, thank God, although the Santa Claus commercials are going to be coming. I don't like the one of him riding on the razor blade. But that's been since the 70s. We just need to walk in a season of forgiveness. Silly season's over, so let's just try to work it out. And stop calling about, I know they're going to nitpick, or I already did it. Benjamin Netanyahu fired his defense minister because the defense minister wants him to stop, defending himself. So you're going to hear all kinds of things, Bob.
Well, that's why I'm here. I'm used to hearing, trust me, by now I'm used to hearing all kinds of things on and off the air.
Good. That's the way to be. Hear it and just, do your best with it. I have to go, man. Sometimes I just have to say, hey, I cast that off. 1 Peter 5:7. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that.
All right. Well, hope you enjoy your day.
Yes. Thank you so much. You too, man.
Thanks.
Blessings to everybody.
It's 10:42 at WNBF. WNBF.com. Widely regarded as my favorite station and my favorite program with my favorite callers. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, my goodness. This is Carol from JC. And I missed the first hour. Did anyone call and talk about the event at the Holiday Inn Arena last evening?
I don't remember. What happened?
What do you mean you don't remember? It was just like between 9 and 10.
I don't know. I'm getting old. I have no... Look, I'm losing it, man.
Okay. Well, anyway, they had their big event. It was fantastic. Saw lots of people, talked to lots of people, met new people. And it is Mr. Mark Malinero showed up at about, I'd say somewhere between midnight and 12:30. He was out on the road somewhere, and he showed up, and there he was. He got a standing ovation when he got there, and I felt quite sad about the whole situation of being so far behind. I just can't believe that all the things that they said against him that people believed, because that would never happen. It was just lousy. I just think it was lousy what they did to him.
What did he have to say? What did he have to say?
Well, he was thanking everybody left and right and up and down, and he was so grateful for all the work that everyone did. And he's such a humble person, and in my estimation, quite truthful. So whatever happened, I feel sad. But I was there until the very end. I think I left there about 1:30 in the morning when there was just a smattering of people. And I just have to say a couple more things about some people that have been calling and being so anti-conservative, if I may say that. And I'd like to have them, not have them, but I would like to know where they got their crystal balls when they spoke with such authority all the time that things were going to happen, and this person said that, and someone said this, and I think they better time to return their crystal balls to the 5 and dime, because they got gypped. Seriously, I mean, some people that were calling, especially some that called towards the end of the program, were talking so fast and with such held back anger in their voice. It was unbelievable. And perhaps they were just grasping at straws, trying to make a point, but I don't know. It's the first time in my life, and I said this to several people last night, it's the first time in my life I ever prayed to God for the outcome of a presidential election. First time in my life. There's other more.
So that's an interesting thing. I've heard people pray to God for election outcomes. I've heard people pray to God during the World Series or during high school football games. So I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to understand what role God plays in determining who wins an election or who wins a sporting event. How does God
deterring evil?
Does he track how many polls each candidate, or how many prayers each candidate received?
Let's not change the subject to sports and things like that. But there are some quotes in the Bible about the deterrence. Well, not using that exact word. Warding off evil. Evil does not win. I mean, if they have taken World War II.
So you're suggesting one of the candidates was evil.
Yes. The policies of the party.
A candidate who was created in God's image is evil.
We're all created in God's image. And I'll tell you one thing that I've just been thinking about just the past few minutes before I dialed the number. If it wasn't for the Cain and Abel situation, the world would not have been in this, if it wasn't for the Cain and Abel murder, the world would not be in this situation. It was like paradise. That's what God planned. But we all have a free will to do what we want to do. So that's what the nuns told me in grammar school, and I still remember that. So there you go.
All right. I appreciate your call. I hope you have a great day.
You too.
1047 at WNBF with Bob Joseph.
So how are you? I haven't talked to you in a while. Want to shoot the breeze? I'm just a stork.
Wait, who is this?
John Cordisco. I'm a little...
Oh, it's John Cordisco. Okay, you're on the air. Yeah, I just switched over to the phone line, and I heard you talking, and I didn't instantly recognize your voice. John Cordisco, former member of Binghamton City Council and a longtime business operator on the north side. By the way, I miss you at your corner there.
22 years.
Wow. So how many years has it been since you since the business was transitioned to new owners there at what used to be Cordisco's Corner? What year did that happen?
Well, in March, early April of 21.
Wow. Doesn't seem that it's been 3.5 years, but it has. So anyway, I appreciate your calling in. What are your thoughts?
I think it's an historic day. Now, I heard something, Kevin O'Leary, he's the guy on the Canadian, what is that show there with all the millionaires?
Wasn't it his cow that burned down Chicago? Kevin O'Leary's cow?
Shark Tank.
Oh, okay. I don't watch that.
He was on yesterday after all the election stuff ended, and he made a really, really interesting comment. I find it intriguing that non-Americans see Americans much clearer than Americans do. He's Canadian, so he sees it from a different perspective. He said we all went way too far one way, and the system that was set up by the brilliant founders made a correction. And it's been happening for over 200 years. Some of these guys are 18, 19, 20 years old as the founding people of this country. It's just incredible they had that kind of foresight and that kind of intelligence to know human nature.
Well, this is by far the best country. I think everybody understands that. America is number one. Is number one in my book.
Not by a quarter inch. By a
mile. By a mile,
yeah.
Man.
Yeah, that's still
no. By 100 miles. This is the best country ever.
I mean, what are the odds of having all those incredibly intelligent men at the exact same place in history at the exact same time? If the odds are, lottery odds are probably better.
It's remarkable. It's remarkable. So, are you planning a political comeback? Are you running for mayor next year?
I don't know. Mayor what?
The mayor of Candor.
Candor. Oh, Candor's a nice town.
Remember Harry Chapin?
Yeah, that's where the psychic is from, isn't it, Candor?
Oh, yeah, Phil Jordan. Maybe he'll run for mayor. He was just on the program a couple of months ago. All right, so do you have any new plans? So you're not contemplating re-entering politics? Well, are you going to open up Chick-fil-A over there near Wegmans?
No, sadly, my mother passed in October of last year.
Yeah.
My last parent. And I'm being the executor of her estate. Any money that I get, I'm thinking about opening up a very small chess club to teach kids, go to schools. I got 2 or 3 guys that want to teach. We can go around the area in school teaching kids how to play and have a little place to play. That's my goal.
All right. Well,
it's cheap. It's cheap, and it's the greatest game in the world. It teaches kids so much, both good and bad.
Right.
How you make mistakes. It's the greatest game in the world, and kids can come and play, and will go around. I got 2 or 3 instructors that are biting at the bit to teach for free. So I think that's going to be my next goal, as they say. And maybe that'll get legs. Who knows? You look up the St. Louis Chess Club and Scholastic Center. It's in St. Louis. They started out, there's this billionaire guy that retired. He just started this little club. Now it takes up like 2 blocks, and he has all kinds of championships there. I mean, you always start small and grow from there. We'll see.
All right. Well, keep us posted.
Yeah, it's really good for inner city kids, too, as well. You teach them discipline and all kinds of good stuff.
All right. John Cordisco, good to hear from you.
You too, Bob.
All right. Care. Thanks. It's 10:52 at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Jake from Binghamton.
Hi, Jake. What's up?
Hey, I just wanted to give a shout-out to Bob from Vestal. I love hearing you, man. If you're listening, call in more often. Don't give up on this radio station. Whenever I hear you come on the radio, I pull over and I listen to the whole thing.
All right. He thought people didn't care, and I repeatedly said people do care. I think our listeners care about each other.
You know, Bob, I think you do care about them because until I became politically savvy, my dad would tell me about your radio show, and he goes, "Oh, you got to listen to this guy named Bob from Vestal." He goes back and forth with Bob Joseph, and it's hilarious. And he was not wrong.
Yeah, well, the whole point of the program is people talking to people, conversations. In many quarters today, conversations are not had, including a lot of younger people, even older people. They're just out of the habit of talking to each other. Yeah, I'll text you, I'll email you, I'll try to avoid you with voicemail. I mean, that's what people do now. They utilize technology to not interact, and I don't think I don't think it's good.
No, I agree. And you know, I'm in my early 30s, so I grew up with these, computers coming out and cell phones coming out, and I think I was in the last good generation of kids that actually went outside and played until the sun went down. We talked to our friends. We called each other on our house phones. There's a lot more communication, and I feel real bad for this next generation, the Gen Z and then the Gen Alpha. They've grown up in such an environment where they can't communicate very often or effectively and all that matter. I mean, I have a cousin who he's so shy you can barely talk to him, and he's just glued right to his iPad the whole time he's ever over at the house. And I'm like, I just shake my head.
Yeah. Well, what we need is more people that age to be able to call into the program. Now, obviously, some young people are tied up in school or otherwise occupied when the program's on, but it doesn't mean they can't call in the summer or they can't call when they have a day off. I mean, as you discovered, even though most of the station's audience isn't your age, we still talk about things that are relevant to you.
Oh yeah, and I'm gonna be a father here pretty soon for the first time, and I get real worried about the way the world's going. And my parents used to say that to me all the time. Oh, I'm so worried about the world you're going to grow up in. And it's true. Now that I've come to the realization of what they were talking about, it does scare me. It keeps me up at night. And the baby's not even here yet. But I think if we, like you said, people need to talk to each other. If we lose that ability to have civil discourse and debate in a civilized adult manner, then we lose all sight of politics and civilization as it is. People really, really need to understand that whether, Trump won, that's great. Biden won, that's great. It shouldn't be, ha-ha, screw you, ha-ha, we won. It should be, okay, great. Now let's both have good faith in what the president and the Senate and the House is all going to do going forward. I wasn't the biggest fan of Biden, but when he won, I said, what? Give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's see what he does. Unfortunately, I was very disappointed with his performance as a president, especially him being a career politician for 40 years. But you know what? When people ask me, were you better off 4 years ago? I say, actually, yes. And I don't debate the people's personalities. I debate their policy, and I think that's what really needs to be talked about.
Appreciate your call, Jake.
Yep, thank you. Have a good day, Bob.
You too. 10:56 at News Radio WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Bob, hi, Chris Binghamton. How are you?
Great. What's on your mind?
So, now that the political hubbub is all over, I've got an assignment for you, if you could. Could you put your investigative hat on and ask around about the 10 governmental agencies that went to seize a squirrel and seize a raccoon in Elmira?
I am tempted to head out that way and start asking some questions. I don't know that I personally am going to be on the story, but I definitely want answers. And now that our distractions with the election are over, now it's time for Kathy Hochul and the DEC to explain what the heck happened there and what they're going to do to make sure it never happens again.
Right. I mean, it just seemed to happen at a certain time that nobody really wanted to ask questions about it. You know what I mean? Because of the political climate that was about to happen.
there's only so much you can do at one time. The media can only focus on one big story at a time, and the election happened to be the big story. Appreciate your call. We'll see what else we can find out about what happened to poor little Peanut.
Have a great day. Thanks.
Bye-bye. It's 10:58. More calls coming up. I'm Bob Joseph on WNBF.
If you're not sure.
Let's take more calls, see how many calls we might possibly be able to get to this hour on Binghamton Now. We begin with Harry in Coventry. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Bob. I'm sorry I vote for the most peaceful candidate I can find. I campaign for the most peaceful candidate I can find, and I like Ike's button because beware of the military-industrial complex.
All right. So what are your thoughts this morning, now that the elections are over?
Well, not so much about the election, but because we did a hypersonic missile test last night, and that isn't, it might be a good way of projecting strength, but it's not a good way of projecting peace.
Well, I know many people are really concerned about that decision to conduct that test.
Yep. Well, I'm sorry, Donald didn't have time to call in to you. And we couldn't even go on our usual fishing trip in August. He sent Barron instead.
Yeah. Well, now that he's got some time, now that the campaign's over and the dust has settled, he certainly has some time over, I would say, next couple of months where he could call in. Next 2.5 months, he certainly should have, I would think, 30 minutes. Time. Yeah. So let's hope he does. If he does, I promise to ask a few questions, including to get some specifics on exactly where he had a Speedy, because the last time he was on the program, he told me he had a Speedy and he liked it. So I was running out of time, so I couldn't ask him during that interview where he had the Speedy and whether it was...
there's a little hut in Endicott.
Oh, over on Main Street?
We used to always go to Sam's.
Yeah. Good times. Those are good Speedies back then.
Yep.
So, well, I appreciate your call, and keep listening, because it's going to be a very, very interesting next couple of days, next few weeks. And one of these days, probably when I least expect it, Donald Trump is going to call back.
And I'm pleased I get to listen to you when my wife's at work.
Why? She doesn't like the program?
She preferred Tony.
Well, everybody does. I hear that all the time, how much better Tony was.
No, I don't think he was better. I think he was different.
Well, that's true. And he and I were buddies for a long time. I mean, we used to hang out together, even though, let's be clear, we had different worldviews, but we were great friends.
Well, as we... I'm married to who I'm married to now for 28 years, 29 in February. And we love each other.
And that's so important. That kind of respect and dedication is really, really important. Now more than ever.
You have to love everybody, Bob. I mean, you really do.
Harry, thank you so much for calling in, and I appreciate your chatting with us this morning. I hope you have a great afternoon.
I will.
All right.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. 11:14 WNBF, WNBF.com. Let's take some more calls on this Wednesday morning. Hi, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, good morning, Bob. This is Vinny from Binghamton.
Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. I had to go down and get another cup of coffee here. Yeah, I've been listening today. And before I talk about the general election, I just wanted to say congratulations to Donald Pardo and Leah Webb and Jason. Great job. But I really have to go out and say to Josh Riley, excellent, man. Excellent job. I'll tell you, I've been up here in this area since '88, and I was here when IBM was here. And I've seen so many things lost in this area, pulled out of here. Jobs, for whatever reasons, factories, buyouts, mergers, the whole thing. And that was so funny when I would listen to Mark Molinaro's commercial about, he's a Washington insider, he's this and that. He's a lawyer, and I'm thinking, why the heck would Josh Riley want to come back here where nothing's going on? But he did. He came back, and he told you. And he talked about that grassroots organization. Josh, if you're listening or any of your campaign people are listening, you guys should make a thing. This is how you campaign. This is how you do a grassroots, and take it down there to Washington and hand it out to some of those newbies down there, man, because you did a hell of a job in this thing. I went to one of his fundraisers. Listen to this, Bob. I went to one of his rallies, and the table I was sitting at was a teacher. Her and her husband were teachers. And she told me, she goes, Vinny, do you know the last time when he ran, he lost by 4,000 votes? Well, I mean, 4,000. I'm sorry. Let me say it again. There were 4,000 Democrats that sat home and didn't even come out to vote. Do you see what that margin is now? It's a little under 4,000. He got them out. And that's the way you run a campaign. And I just want to say congratulations, man. And please don't forget us when you get down there, man. Please call back in. Now, as far as the general election, Bob, I'm going to tell you just what I told when we first ran. It is what it is. I have a very, very angry at two groups inside the Democratic Party. I won't talk about now. I'll talk about it later. But I just don't know what the heck went on. You made us lose a state. But I think it's one of those things where, hey, look it, you Trump supporters, you got the stage now, man. Democrats will get off. We'll do our little thing in the Senate and the House and all this other kind of stuff. But you've got it. So whatever's coming up in these next 4 years, this is you, okay? I want to sit back and watch this old man do his magic.
Well,
and you won't hear it. No, that's something.
Well, I'm waiting to be dazzled. I mean, starting January 20th, peace in the Middle East, the Ukraine war coming to an end, and ushering in a remarkable new era of global harmony. I think. Well, hey,
Bob.
I think if that happens, you will have nearly 8 billion people. They don't have to like the President of the United States, but if the President of the United States has some kind of a magic wand that brings peace to these prolonged conflicts, I think billions of people, those who support him and those who don't support him, will be at least grateful for the peace and tranquility and the lives that will be saved.
Well, that's good for a Christmas card, but we're dealing with dictators.
I know.
Okay.
And that's why I think this is going to be problematic. I know it started to sound there for a second like I'm running the Hallmark Now talk show. And I'm sorry, I would be unable to host that show because, and I know, hey, some people love the Hallmark Channel. Some people love all the wonderful tested sayings that go in those Hallmark cards, including some that are manufactured in China.
Yeah,
those are great sayings, but in the real world, sometimes they don't cut it. But
hey Bob, as John McCain was told by Barack Obama, he goes, John, the campaign's over, man. This is the real stuff now, and we've got to really watch out. What's Russia going to do? Is Russia going to in Russia and North Korea? Is he going to let them come in Ukraine? Are we going to have to put boots on the ground? Is Netanyahu going to listen to Donald Trump when he goes over, look, I got to give you 3 months. You better get this straight. He's going to look at, oh, really? I'm going to annihilate these people. And what are you going to do? And then you've got Iran over there. Oh, look at America's got this guy now, man. Here, let's see if we can get these bombs going. I'm telling you, these next 4 years are going to be interesting in this country. And like I said, I'm going to sit back and watch because you got it. This is what you wanted. You got it.
All right. Well, thank you, Vinny. Appreciate your checking in. It's 11:20 here at News Radio WNBF. And I am pleased that we've heard a cross-section of voices with all sorts of views. And I think that helps to reinforce the importance of this program. That agree or disagree with the host, you can call in and you can make your point so your friends and neighbors and, of course, people elsewhere outside this area. Shockingly, there are people outside New York and Pennsylvania who listen to this program every day. We know. Thanks to technology, we can see that we're being listened to every day in many states well beyond Binghamton. Even if people don't call in, they're listening on the WNBF app. It's 11:21. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hello. My name is Steve. I'm calling from Binghamton. And I just want to let you know that I'm so happy about the election. I think Trump is going to prove everybody that this country can succeed without the far left hatred people that hate him. I feel sorry for the people that dislike Trump because there's no cure for these people. They don't understand. There must be a mental deficiency with some of these people who hate Trump. I kind of feel sorry for these people. All I have to do is listen to them on radio, and they kind of make me sick to my stomach. So all I wanted to say is that we are going to succeed, and we are going to proceed with this country and make it a lot better.
Appreciate your call.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hope you have a great day.
Thank you.
11:22 WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from? Ooh. You're on the air. Good morning. Where are you calling from?
Hey, good morning, Bob. It's Rob from Bradford County.
Hi, what's up?
I find it pretty ironic that I was waiting to get in cell service today to call you and ask you about Bob.
Well, he said he said he didn't think anyone cared, and no matter how many times I told him that people cared, he didn't seem to believe it. But people care about the folks they hear on this program.
I heard. But I just wanted to let Bob know it's good to hear your voice. And you put a smile on my face, Bob, every time you call into this show.
Well, Rob, thanks for calling in, and I hope you have a great, great day.
Thank you. Same to you. Bye.
1123 WNBF. Hey, you got a phone? Call in. If you don't have a phone, ask someone if you could borrow theirs for 2 minutes. 607-772-1290. That is the Binghamton Now number. We're here serving you. It's something that doesn't happen much anymore. Sadly, in America, there are relatively few daily local programs like this, and very, very few that run for 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, with a host who will take everybody who calls in. Hi, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
This is Larry from Kirkwood, Bob.
Hey, Larry, what's up?
Hey, I am now 100% confident Trump will win.
See, there you go. There you go. The flash, apparently official.
Hey, listen, I heard Vinny just a little while ago. Gotta say, that's the most sane he sounded in a while. Although it still was a little insane on his part. But that's okay. That was pretty crazy that we were watching that pretty up until about 12:30 last night. And I'll tell you what, I took Kamala. She made it tight. She actually did in some ways. But the main point
the thing is, and I haven't said this up until this point on the program, if she had run a better campaign, she might have won.
Well, thank God she didn't.
Well, there were a lot of things that the Democratic candidate did that made it clear she wasn't running the best campaign. The fact that she avoided interviews assiduously, the fact that she seldom appeared in news conferences. In my opinion, she was way too guarded, and maybe that's the way it had to be. Maybe that truly was the best she could do, but there was of course, a dramatic difference between the Democratic and the Republican candidates. One person would be crystal clear, well, not all the time, but crystal clear many times about at least where he stood on certain issues. And the Democratic candidate was too often evasive when she was asked a direct question. Now, Trump...
99 times out of 100, she was evasive.
Well, that's probably true. Trump was evasive at times too, and sometimes you would ask, or not me, I haven't had a chance to talk to him in more than a decade, but when sometimes he was asked a direct question about a specific topic, he would perform his weave, which he thought was funny. I don't find the weave funny, and I don't find candidates who evade questions funny. The only thing that I think as a journalist and also as an American citizen, I think if a candidate is asked a direct question, he or she should give a direct answer. So if I ask a candidate a yes or no question, I want the answer to be yes or no, or if they're not capable of saying yes or no, say, I don't know because. Right. But too often, and Kamala Harris employed this technique with disturbing frequency where she would go off on some sort of unrelated tangent about hope and joy. And look, I love hope. I love joy.
Oh, and I was born in the middle class.
And that's the thing. And you know, that type of response might work if you're running for a local or a state office. It should never be acceptable if you're running for president. And interviewers, I think, people who interviewed both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump should have pressed them harder And the thing is, now Trump, so many of his interviews were done with people who support him. The interviews with people like Sean Hannity or Mark Levin. I don't know. Did he talk with Mark Levin this? And I think he did.
I have no idea.
Dan Bongino and Tucker Carlson and Elon Musk. Those interviews don't count for much in my book as a journalist. He should have been also doing interviews.
Bob, he went constantly in enemy territory.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He didn't take questions from interviewers who were not generally on his side. For the most part, there were a couple of exceptions. For the most part, the interviews he did were people who were clearly either fully supportive or leaning towards supporting him. You name one interview that he did in the last 3 months before Election Day. He would not do an interview with 60 Minutes. He didn't do interviews for the most part with people who were not already on board the Trump train.
Charlemagne was not on board the Trump train, and he was doing an interview with him.
I'm talking about mainstream. The ABCs, the NBCs, the CBSs, CNN, MSNBC. If he wanted to be president so badly, why didn't he show his stuff and be interviewed by somebody like Keith Huberman?
Well, I'd never go near Keith.
Well, and he didn't either. That's my point. So, yeah, for all his bravado, yeah, it was a campaign strategy, and it was successful. For all of his courage and bravado, he didn't sit down with the people who would have asked him the toughest questions. Why didn't he? Because he was afraid to. Why didn't Kamala Harris sit down with people who were going to ask her the tough questions? Why didn't she? She was afraid to. Both candidates, during at least the last 100 days of the campaign, showed they were afraid to be interviewed by the best journalist who would have asked the best questions.
Donald Trump was never afraid to be.
Yes, he was afraid. If he wasn't afraid, he would have done an interview on MSNBC. If he wasn't afraid, he would have done an interview with 60 Minutes. The last time he was interviewed on 60 Minutes, he stalked out of the studio.
Well, let's be honest. You honestly think that he should ever have gone on MSNBC? They do one wall-to-wall. Trump is Hitler. Trump is that. And there is not one thing that MSNBC says about Trump that's ever good.
So he was afraid to go there. Okay, you proved my point. He was afraid to go into enemy territory and take him on, head on. He should have paid attention to the people who said the things that were most opposed to him and demanded, hey, you said that on your program last night on MSNBC. I want to come on your next show and address that with you face to face. You think you're a big person when you're talking in the studio by yourself. Well, now I want the opportunity to face you and respond directly.
Well,
he was afraid. He was afraid to do it. I don't know why. Just like Kamala Harris was afraid to do interviews with MSNBC, afraid to do interviews with Dan Bongino or Sean Hannity. You know, if you want the most important job on the planet, you shouldn't be afraid to be interviewed. Go through the job interview. Everybody who works here at WNBF has had to be interviewed. You might not have liked some of the questions, but if you wanted the job, you had to go through the interview.
All I will say is he never turned down interviews. And
oh, don't say that. He turned down the 60 Minutes interview. He should have been on 60 Minutes, and he turned it down.
What I'm saying is he interviewed a lot of liberal journalists. He answered lots of tough questions.
Hey, if he's afraid to face Leslie Stahl, if he's afraid to face any of the elite team at 60 Minutes, then maybe he isn't fit to face Putin and face the leaders of places like North Korea and Iraq, if he can't sit down for an hour with these highly paid, trained journalists at the 60 Minutes office, then maybe he didn't really want the job. Maybe he was just hoping he could slide in because his opponent was basically doing the same thing. So the two major party candidates for president refused to do interviews with the people who would have asked them the most challenging questions.
Bob, we know his record.
Yeah, I know his record. That's why I'm not relitigating his record. I'm making the point that he didn't have the courage to do interviews with the people who would have asked him the most important questions.
We already have his 4 years of his presidency.
I know. That's why we have lots of questions. We have a record that deserves to be examined. But because he avoided 60 Minutes and other professional journalists who would have asked only the best questions, we didn't get the answers that we wanted. Why didn't he release all of the JFK assassination documents when he said he would? He's never answered that.
Well, I have a chance this time.
Yeah, he'll have another chance. Just like now, he'll have another chance to finish the wall and have Mexico pay for it.
He's still on that one. So.
Yeah, and we'll see. We'll see. At the end of his second term, on January 20th, or January 19th, 2029, you call me, and we can talk about how beautiful the wall is and how Mexico paid for the whole darn thing.
Well, I don't know whether about Mexico paying for it, but...
No, of course they're not going to pay for it. They won't pay a single peso. You know it, I know it, and Donald Trump knows it. We all know it. That's the thing. Too many questions were left unasked and unanswered. 11:35 at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Jim from Owego.
Hi, Jim.
How are you? Hi. Trump didn't refuse to speak to Leslie Stahl. He asked her for an apology for lying. When she interviewed him in the past, she asked him, when he said that his campaign had been spied on and stuff like that, she deliberately said, no, you don't have proof of that. And then when it came true, he would have interviewed whether she hadn't apologized to him for saying that what she said was wrong in the past. So that's it.
Yeah, well, it's too bad he was afraid to sit down for another 60 Minutes interview. They actually offered to have another correspondent interview him for this year's election program. And apparently, initially, the campaign accepted the invitation and then canceled. So, whatever. Either you have the courage to go and face people who may ask you some of the best questions, or you don't have the courage. So, hey, he showed us. I get it. He thought, there's a good example of a guy who never apologizes for anything, expecting Leslie Stahl should apologize to him before he does another interview with the program.
Why should he grant her an interview?
Hey, I said 60 Minutes offered an interview with another correspondent. If he didn't like Leslie Stahl, who's truly an American treasure, if he didn't like Leslie Stahl, then he could have been interviewed by any one of several other 60 Minutes correspondents. They gave him the opportunity. He refused.
It's a left-wing activist group. Why would you even want...
60 Minutes, a left-wing activist group, is the most successful news program in the history of journalism. They're not activists. It's not left-wing. It's run by a bunch of capitalists who've made billions of dollars. 60 Minutes has made more money than Donald Trump has ever made.
It's dead.
It's not dead. It's the best program going, and he refused. He refused to return because he didn't get an apology. A man who, to the best of my knowledge, has never publicly apologized for anything. wanted an apology from Leslie Stahl? I guess we've lost the connection.
No, I'm here.
Well, again, I rest my case. A guy who can't apologize to anyone needed an apology from correspondent Leslie Stahl before he would return to 60 Minutes to ask important questions before the election.
I don't even see why he would even entertain going on.
He didn't entertain it. His campaign initially said he would, and then he canceled. No, he didn't entertain it. See, that finally, you see my point. He didn't entertain even being on America's best news program, the most popular news program, the one that's won all the awards for more than half a century.
All right, Bob.
All right. 11:39 at WNBF. Hey, you sit down with Leslie Stahl, that alone shows you have courage. You afraid to face Leslie Stahl? Leslie Stahl? Come on. You have nothing to fear? Leslie Stahl and that incredible, award-winning 60 Minutes team. Hi, WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
This is Tom from Susquehanna.
Well, hi, Tom. Good morning.
How you doing, Bobby?
Never better. How are you?
Good enough. Yeah, I'm gonna chastise you now. You know, Bob, that Trump is barely in office, and already you're finding fault. You know, now, I was out on the road this morning. I couldn't do it. But when I got home now, I got in touch with you. Because your channel, I can't get your channel at nighttime at all. It cuts out at like 4 o'clock. And I can't even get you on the radio around here. That's in New Milford. But, you know, Bob, you're going to make a mistake going after Trump like this because you're creating a lot of problems, a lot of anger out there. I mean, give him a chance. Let's see what's going to happen. And you're already like Leslie Stahl. I mean, Leslie Stahl's a piece of crap. The mainstream media, I don't trust them. I don't trust them at all. And, you know, I just can't believe that she almost got 50% of the votes. And half of them is from my family, from New York. I can't believe them. All right? What do you think? You know, I tell you the truth.
Oh, yeah. No, I respect that. You tell it like it is. I respect that.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. And, you know, between you and me, Bobby,
right.
See what's going to happen. You know, because no matter what, they're starting up already. Oh, he's got to do this. He's going to do that. Give them time. Let them do it. And as far as that wall goes, Mexico paid for it in a different way. And, you know, you pick on things that are you know, are really minor. You know what I mean? And I'll tell you the truth. You got a good show. You let anybody talk on the show. So, but that's the way I stand. What do you think? Oh, hey, Bob, I have one more thing.
Sure.
You hear that little, you know that squirrel, Peanuts?
Yeah, Peanut the squirrel.
Yeah,
Kathy Hochul's people. Kathy Hochul. Well, where's PETA? You know, where's PETA? PETA, the big PETA people. How come they're not protesting? How come they haven't called the program and said Kathy Hochul has to explain why her people killed Peanut?
Right. You know, my wife says that squirrel was with him for 7 years.
It's sick, man.
I know.
And I'm not kidding. You know how much I love pets.
Yeah, well, it's I mean, who possibly would put that squirrel to sleep? What could the squirrel be? First of all, I wouldn't have given up the squirrel. If I had the squirrel at the house, I would have hid the squirrel. So, you know, my wife says she would have shot him and not, you know, going after him. But, I mean, I don't know. Somebody complained. What did they complain about the squirrel for? Do you know?
I don't know.
I mean, the whole thing is, what guy could do this? You know, they got to give it to a guy. Say, here's the squirrel. And he says, well, what do you want me to do? You're going to put him to sleep. I mean, this is like the Nazis, for God's sakes. And they accept it. And nobody seems to be saying anything. Well, no, I've heard you on the show because I was home the last couple of days, and you were all for it. The whole thing stinks.
I know.
Right?
I concur. It's time I say for Kathy Hochul to hold a news conference, or better yet, call into the program and answer all my questions about Squirrelgate.
Yeah, she's not gonna.
I know she's not gonna. She'll never call in.
Yeah, I know, but she called in when she was running.
No, she only called in once, and that's after we had that devastating snow in mid-April when it caused lots of power outages. And look, I'll say this about Governor Hochul or any governor or any public official. They're always welcome on the program during times of natural disaster or big news things, and we'll focus on talking about what they want to talk about. But I still think we're here 365 days a year, so while we can give them an opportunity to talk with Binghamton area residents during a time of need, it also would be helpful if they would call in and talk about other issues when we don't have a crisis.
What?
Right?
You know, yeah. I mean, and you come in loud and clear. I pick you up as I'm going over to New York, and all the way to Deposit, you're up there. I don't understand why I can't get you down here on East Lake Road.
It's just the way the radio signals go. What you ought to do, you ought to have the WNBF app on your phone, and then you would hear us, most places, there's cell service, or internet service.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you the truth. I got one of them smartphones, too, but, you know, I'm trying to get rid of it and just get a regular phone. I'm trying to get back to the old flip-type phone where I can put it in my pocket, you know? I'm sick of that. I got the iPad here if I want to look up stuff, and I don't even trust that Google. I mean, if you remember the first time I called you up.
Oh, yeah.
About this thing with Vietnam, and I was completely off on the numbers. I mean, so, you know, who the heck, you know, so I don't trust that.
That's a good point. That's a good point. All right. Appreciate your call. You keep paying attention to what's going on, because I'm telling you one thing, Tom, it's going to get really interesting.
Oh, it's going to be interesting all the way. All right, Bobby, you got a good show. Hang in there, buddy.
You too. Thank you. WNBF, 11:45. More calls coming up on this Wednesday morning. Binghamton Now. Let's go back to the phones. Good morning, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from? Hi, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Martin from Binghamton.
Hey, Martin. Good morning.
Good morning, Bob. How are you?
I'm fine.
Well, let's just see what happens and move forward. Just, you know, the guy's still the same guy in the suit. That's, you know, we'll see what he does, you know. The zebra can't change his stripes pretty quick.
Mm-hmm. He will. I think he will. I think he's going to surprise us.
Well, that'd be nice, but I doubt it. I mean, we'll see what happens, you know. So.
All right. Well, I am looking forward to a kinder, gentler Trump 2.0.
Well, we'll see.
All right. Don't lose faith.
I won't, but, you know.
I know the proof will be in the pudding. Of course, that's what they said with Bill Cosby, too.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for your call. Hang in there.
All right. Yeah.
Bye. It's 11:48 at WNBF. Oh, we've been having so much election fun, I inadvertently overlooked the weather. I know how many of our listeners wish they, too, had a weather deck. Mostly cloudy this afternoon. Showers likely. High 70. Cloudy tonight. A slight chance of showers, 52. Partly sunny tomorrow, 59. And right now, downtown Binghamton, it's very nice. Morning, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Joe from Wago.
Hey, Joe. What do you know?
I think one of your previous callers indicated that it would cost $315 billion to remove illegal immigrants from the United States. I will suggest the same thing I suggested years ago. There are probably 20 million people who could sponsor one immigrant each and eliminate the entire situation. The second thing is Donald Trump had a 4-year interview. Use it, what it would be. And thirdly, your comment about candidate Harris's campaign, if she'd have done it right, she would have won, reminds me of the first game of the World Series where some of the sportscasters said if the Yankees had played the game correctly, they would have won. Thank you very much.
Thank you. 1150 WNBF. Yeah, everybody is a Monday morning quarterback or a Wednesday morning quarterback in this case. I still maintain two things. Kamala Harris could have won if only she had run a better campaign and managed to sit down for some interviews, real interviews, with real journalists who would ask some really tough questions. If she did that on a regular basis, she might have won. And also, listen to this. 2020, Donald Trump would have won if only he had behaved better in the final 30 days before the election. We wouldn't have had to go through the insurrection and all that stuff and all the lies about the election being stolen in 2020, because he would have won decisively, probably, if only he had behaved like a president. Because the American people are not inclined to fire a president unless he's done something unpresidential. And so that's why it's not because Joe Biden, the kid from Scranton, and his little stories about corn pop made us so happy. That's not why he won in 2020. He won because people were getting sick and tired of the same old thing. And with a president who, more often than not, found it difficult to act in a presidential fashion. He could have won. He should have won in 2020. This year, the main reason he won is because he faced a candidate who had to slap together a campaign, shortest campaign for president in the history of the country, and she wasn't good at it. So it was probably inevitable. 11:52, WNBF, Binghamton Now. All right, let's see if we could squeeze in another call edgewise. Hi, WNBF, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Jerry, calling from the north side.
Hey, what's up? What's on your mind?
I'd like to talk about the election, of course.
Yeah, so what do you think?
I think the reason Kamala Harris lost the election is because there's no legitimate primary process. They put her out there without a platform to stand on.
Which they had to do under the circumstances. This was not something anybody wanted to happen. It just had to happen after the June debate debacle on CNN. There was absolutely no way, no how Joe Biden could be the Democratic nominee.
But prior to that, they marginalized other candidates without even being on a primary.
Yeah, well,
no delegates.
They should have had a talk with him a year ago and said, "Hey, Joe, we love you, but take a good look in the mirror and tell us what you really think about a second term." But nobody had the gumption to do it, so that's the way it worked out. And there you go. At least they learned. Appreciate the call. Let's see, maybe I'll squeeze in one more here. Busy show. Busy. Hi, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Bob from town of Binghamton.
Hey, what's up, Bob?
I wanted to bring up the Leslie Stahl thing. I think part of the reason that Trump didn't meet with another anchor was that they had made those edits to the Kamala Harris interview.
No, that happened before. He canceled before Kamala Harris was interviewed. So, yeah, now, after the fact, that's great to use that as an excuse, and that's why he's suing CBS News for billions of dollars in a preposterous case. But, no, he canceled before Kamala Harris was interviewed. So, yeah, that's nice. Besides, even if there was a debacle with the way two CBS programs ran portions of Kamala Harris's answers, there's no reason for him to cancel out. Unless he's afraid. If you're afraid to be interviewed, just say, I'm afraid to be interviewed by 60 Minutes.
I haven't ever gotten the impression that he's been afraid to have the interviews, but he has had a lot of distrust in the media.
He distrusts the media that ask him the hard questions. He doesn't distrust Sean Hannity or Dan Bongino or Elon Musk or the kid there with the podcast. He loves them. He loves Tucker Carlson. They're the media. He loves them because they love him. He loves those who love him.
I've had the feeling that that is part of the issue.
Oh, I know it's part of the issue. It's just too bad that a guy who really wanted the job's too bad that he didn't have the courage. If he had the courage, he would have shown up at 60 Minutes and said, and I'm saying figuratively, rip the door off the hinges of the managing editor's office at 60 Minutes and say, I didn't like the way I was treated by Leslie Stahl. I want to go back on 60 Minutes Live with Leslie Stahl, and I want to finish up what she started. But he didn't do that. By the way, I didn't mean to literally rip the door off the hinges. I'm just saying show up and say, I want to finish what she started. She didn't treat me right, so I want to go on live so it can't be edited, and it's not going to be on a delay. I want the opportunity to respond to the way I was treated by Leslie Stahl. I want to be on 60 Minutes this Sunday. He could have done it. He didn't. He was afraid.
I understand, and I also think that they are going to go to media outlets that show them more favorably. I mean,
of course they will. Of course, everybody goes to outlets that give them favorable treatment. That's how it is. Appreciate your call. Thank you, Bob. Well, he hung up on me. That's our program, folks. I'm Bob Joseph. Back tomorrow on WNBF.